Nature is an unpredictable force. It can change at a moment's notice. Bad weather can present situations that are dangerous and can greatly increase the risk of an accident for each and every driver on the road, even the professional driver.
And sometimes it's the other driver who made the mistake for not adjusting to the bad weather. In either case, there are things that you can do, things that you can prepare for that can help minimize the possibility and risk of being involved in a crash related to bad weather. During the course of this program, we'll attempt to look at what causes good weather to go bad, from thunder, lightning, rain, and fog, to sleet, hail, snow, and ice. We'll even cover some wind and how it has an influence on your ability to drive safely, how you should prepare for it, and most importantly, how to react to some very real, unexpected situations while driving in it. While adverse weather conditions may not keep some of us from completing our daily jobs, it can complicate them. In that case, let's start with the rain. It's common to all cities, counties, and countries around the world. Some places get more than others, but in all of them, the wet road can produce some of the same types of driving risks.
Suspended far above the atmosphere, water comes crashing to earth. We know this as rain. Mixed with hazards already on the roadways, this can present inherent dangers to driving safely.
When it begins to rain, it's a good idea to turn on your headlights, windshield wipers, and even adjust the defroster to improve your visibility. These are all good basic steps to take. But if it's been a while since the last time it's rained, oil has been building up on the asphalt. Now remember, oil and water don't mix, and since oil floats on top of the water, there is now a layer of oil sitting on top of the layer of water produced by the rain, making for some very slick driving conditions. As a professional driver, it's a good idea to protect yourself and your vehicle from any kind of situation that could be troublesome. You should scan your surroundings, check the mirrors to see what other vehicles are around. Keep an out, a safe place for you to steer your vehicle to if something should develop around you. Remember, the first rule for any driver is to drive defensively. Plan for the unexpected. You can never expect other drivers to do exactly what you think they're supposed to do. And let's just say something does happen, like the car you've been following appears to fishtail out of control. To avoid colliding into it, lift your foot off of the accelerator and begin to slow down. If you've kept an out open for yourself, steer into it. And if you're driving a larger vehicle like a pickup truck, utility van, or box truck, what may normally take 150 to 300 feet to stop can now take as much as 900 feet. That's almost the length of 3 football fields. We also should know the fundamental 3-second rule. But did you know to add 1 second for each hazard that may be present in your current situation? In a case like this, you should add 1 second for the rain and 1 second for poor visibility, providing you with almost 5 seconds of space between your vehicle and the motorist in front of you. This will leave a large cushion of time and space to react to almost any kind of situation. As for the car that fishtailed, more than likely it may have been the result of bad tires, which increases the risk of hydroplaning. This happens when a vehicle's tires loses contact with the road, and although there is little that can be done once the vehicle begins to hydroplane, the best solution is to prevent it from happening altogether. Many of us know that it's easy to hydroplane and lose control at high speeds. But it's also important to note that hydroplaning can occur at speeds as low as 30 miles per hour. A lot of it is based on the amount of tread on the tires and air in the tires. Improperly inflated tires don't provide enough pressure to press down on the outside of the tire and force the water through the tread. And of course, the absence of sufficient tread doesn't provide adequate grooves for the water to evacuate either. A combination of these two elements elevates the potential for hydroplaning. You should keep a close eye on the depth of your tire tread. Federal guidelines require 4/32 of an inch on your steering tires and no less than 2/32 of an inch on your rear tires. However, studies have shown a decrease in performance in severe weather when tire tread is less than 5/32 of an inch. To easily measure the remaining tread on your tires, grab a quarter and a penny. Place the penny into several tread grooves across the tire. If part of Lincoln's head is always covered by the tread, then there is more than 2/32 of tread depth remaining. But that is the minimum for rear tire treads. In other words, it's time to get the tires replaced. Flip the penny over and place it between the treads again. If the top of the Lincoln Memorial is always covered by the tread, then there is at least 6/32 of tread depth remaining. That would be considered good tread. Finally, take the quarter and place it between several treads across the tire. If you see Washington's head touch the tread line, then there is about 4/32 of tread depth remaining. This would be a good time to inform your supervisor of the tread conditions concerning your vehicle. Although good tire tread greatly increases your chances of not hydroplaning, simply driving too fast for the conditions can also cause your tires to ride up on top of the water and lose traction with the road. In the event that your vehicle should begin to hydroplane, first let off of the accelerator. Don't slam on the brakes. Brakes are a definite no-go in this type of situation and could cause even further loss of control. From there, concentrate on keeping the steering wheel straight. The weight of the vehicle should be enough to re-engage the tires with the road again. Once traction has been restored, it is important to gauge your position in the roadway and proceed at a safe and cautious speed. But when rain is coupled with thunder, lightning, and potential flash floods, it can quickly add a whole new set of hazards. Heavy rain can cause limited visibility. You'll also need to keep an eye open for downed branches, fallen trees, and power lines. In other words, it's not just the traffic you need to watch out for anymore.
The rain has now become a torrential downpour and has flooded the intersections and roadways. The rapidly moving water can hide countless dangers below, and with its sheer power can wash away entire sections of a road surface.
Flash floods can occur rapidly and unexpectedly, and while it doesn't take a flash flood to cause an intersection or roadway to become flooded, you should never attempt to drive through a flooded area, even if the water appears to be shallow enough to cross. And it doesn't matter how large a vehicle you drive. You should never try to cross a flooded road. A foot of water will float most cars, while 2 feet of rushing water will sweep away most vehicles, including SUVs and pickups. Even low water crossings can hide many dangers beneath the surface of the water. So if you come to a flooded roadway, the best thing to do is to turn your vehicle around and find another route. Now, if you ever do find yourself caught in a flash flood or in the middle of a river of rushing water, take your foot off the gas and steer away from the fast-moving water. Also, avoid using your brakes. If your situation becomes even more severe or if your vehicle stalls, abandon it and immediately seek higher ground. If you are in a situation where you're unable to find another route and need to park your vehicle, try to park in an area clear of trees and other structures that could potentially fall on the vehicle due to the heavy rain, wind, and lightning. But what happens when the wind and rain give way to snow and ice and the dead of winter sets in? Let's learn how to safely tackle driving in these cold, nasty elements.
Overnight temperatures plummeted, delivering a fresh blanket of snow. The deceiving wintry white scene conceals the true dangers that snow can bring.
Before you start to drive off, you should prepare your vehicle by not only making sure your headlights, windshield, and hood are clean and free of any snow and ice buildup, but also by removing the snow from the roof of the vehicle, trunk lid, or rear deck. This will prevent snow from blowing off onto a following driver, causing a distraction. If it's possible, it's also a good idea to add some additional weight over the rear axle of your vehicle for better traction. As you make your way onto the grid of snarling morning traffic, you should keep an eye open for a number of unexpected surprises. The first would be to look out for the many people who are still trying to get their mornings going. those who are shoveling fresh snow from their driveways, sidewalks, and digging out their vehicles. And don't forget the kids. They may be on their way to school and having their fun in the snow. Finally, there's an entire network of streets, roads, and highways that are being cleared. And there are a great number of workers doing the job. Snowplows, scrapers, and sanders, for example. You should exhibit safe driving etiquette by not attempting to pass any of these snow removal vehicles. The drivers of these vehicles will usually provide an opportunity for you to pass once it is safe to do so. The good news is that the condition of the road when following these vehicles is often better than what you would encounter by being in front of them. Snow alone presents challenges to driving safely, but add the hazards of reduced visibility and strong winds into the mix, and you've got quite a combination of factors to navigate through.
Winter storm watch is in effect for tomorrow night.
There's a blizzard warning in effect.
Storm warning in effect.
Do you know the difference between a winter storm watch, a winter storm warning, and a blizzard warning? A winter storm watch means a winter storm is possible in your area. A winter storm warning means that a winter storm is coming to your area. A blizzard warning means that strong winds, blinding wind-driven snow, and dangerous wind chills are expected. You should seek shelter immediately. Being prepared and knowing how to deal with hazards that severe weather presents makes a big difference in your ability to drive safe.
The afternoon sun works away, melting the fresh snow. As evening approaches, temperatures begin to drop below freezing. The now melted snow turns to solid patches of ice.
So what happens when your vehicle hits a patch of ice? What should you do? First, keep your composure and immediately take your foot off the gas. Then gently begin to correct your steering by turning the wheel in the direction you want your vehicle to go. Try to avoid oversteering. That will usually complicate the matter by sending the vehicle into a 360-degree spin. It may take a few times of steering left and right to get the vehicle completely under control again. But once you do, begin to slowly accelerate. Even at temperatures above freezing, you may encounter icy conditions on or around bridges and overpasses. Bridges and overpasses usually freeze first, so slow down and use caution when crossing these types of structures. There are a few reasons why bridges and overpasses freeze before the roads. The first is that a roadway of a bridge is exposed from above and below. This surrounds the roadway with freezing temperatures, making it easier to freeze. The second is because bridges are often located over cold spots, like frozen rivers or deep ravines, providing it with surrounding colder temperatures.
Behind every storm, every weather system, there is one force driving it forward: wind. You can neither see where it comes from or where it's going, but always know when it's there.
Many of us have experienced high winds while driving and know how difficult it is to control the unpredictable movements of the vehicle. It is especially more difficult if you drive a box truck or have a trailer in tow. Drivers of these and other types of high-profile vehicles often find it very difficult to keep their vehicles under control. Simply stated, the greater the surface area on the vehicle, the greater the push will be from the gusts of wind. If you find yourself struggling to keep your vehicle under control due to wind gusts, start by decreasing your speed. This alone should be enough to bring your vehicle under control again. Wind not only affects your ability to safely control your vehicle, but also can blow over trees and send dangerous debris flying across the road. So be alert and watchful whenever wind enters the driving situation.
What could be worse than driving blind? Fog, a cloud making contact with the ground. And for drivers on the road, this means reduced visibility and a new challenge to face.
Do you know what the number one rule is when driving in the fog? It's slow down. Fog has this strange effect on a driver's perception of speed and distance. It is a result of reduced contrast, causing objects to become fainter and less distinct. In any event, Drivers in the fog are often off in their judgment of distance and the speed at which they believe they are traveling. The most common mistake is driving faster than you think you are. And in an environment where visibility is already compromised, this is a recipe for disaster. That is why you should review your speedometer often while in the fog. You should also have your lights on along with the defroster. Avoid using your high beams because the reflections off the fog actually reduce your visibility. If your vehicle is equipped with fog lamps, now would be a good time to use them. If the fog is so dense that you're finding yourself responding to road signs, road lights, and other travelers in an almost panic reaction, it would be best to pull over and remove your vehicle from the road. When pulling off the roadway, turn on your emergency flashers and try to pull your vehicle as far off the roadway as you can. You want to keep your vehicle as far away from other travelers as possible. Of course, if you continue driving in the fog, it is important to be alert of other slow or stop drivers and indicate to other motorists your intentions with enough time for everyone to adjust accordingly. For example, make sure to brake sooner or use your turn signals earlier than you would under normal driving conditions. Before we wrap things up, we should also address a few items about adding some additional safety to you and your vehicle. First, make sure that your mirrors and windshield are clean and free of any debris and cracks. Along with that, make sure you have a good pair of windshield wipers. Second, be prepared with a car safety kit. This is different than an emergency kit, which you should also have in your vehicle. Having one of these kits in your car could be a saving grace. The kit should include a flashlight, compass, extra blankets for you and your passengers, water, non-perishable food, jumper cables, road flares, and any other tools that would come in handy in case of an emergency. Be familiar with each of the driving situations we've discussed here today, and be sure to follow the rules of the road. And remember, it's your job as a professional to do the best job you can. And being as safe as possible is a part of that job. So, when good weather goes bad, slow down, drive safe, and be smart.
Okay. All right, so let's just review some things. When we're driving on ice and snow or fog, before we go out under adverse weather conditions, what's the first thing we should do before we ever put the car into drive? What are some things that we can do? Check the tires, have good tires. Are snow tires expensive?
All tires are expensive.
All tires are expensive. Are they more expensive than a fender bender? You can probably pay for a set of tires with the price of one minor, repair bill from the auto body shop. But yeah, have good tires. We all like to get the most out of the money that we pay for tires and for our vehicles, but make sure you have enough tread. And it talked about how to check those. What else can we check?
Headlights.
Headlights? Okay, good. What else?
Make sure your drink's all the way down your cup holder so that you go to the spirit.
So it doesn't splash on you, and so that you're perfectly hydrated in case you have to get out in it. Okay? What other fluids is it important to check on? How about your windshield washer? If it's a day like Saturday where there's a lot of sleet and snow on the ground and it's coming down, your windshield can sure get dirty. Every time a semi passes you or you pass a semi, it turns your whole windshield, and it's not clean water that you need that windshield washer fluid to wash it off with. Also, what do we do on a day when it's very cold and your car's all frosty? Cleaning it off, going out and warming it up. Sometimes, you see people who have a little tiny peephole. Well, I'll just turn on the defrost, and in 5 minutes it'll be all defrosted. But we should scrape all that off so that we have good visibility. Then once we start, let's say it's foggy or it's icy, snowy roads, what's the number one thing, those of you who are driving a lot, what's the number one mistake that you see people making on slick roads? But speed, isn't it speed? Just simply going too fast. Why do people speed?
They didn't plan ahead any early.
They didn't plan ahead. Yeah, that's most of the time. You know, they're used to their commute taking them 30 minutes, an hour, and not building in extra time. So they think, well, I can't be late. Well, do you want to be really late if you run off the road? Also in the fog, what is another common mistake, common violation actually that you see people doing?
Driving too close.
Driving too close. Yeah, driving too close. Driving too fast. Maybe you can't even see that other vehicle. So if we are driving slow, how is fog different from driving on icy roads, even if we're going slow? And what do we do when it gets really, really bad?
Slow down.
We slow down, okay? And you know, if it's safe, it talked about pulling over to the side. Yeah, if you don't need to go somewhere, if you could pull off. I feel the same about real bad, you know, that blizzard. Pull off at a parking lot, park somewhere, you know, until it lifts, if you can. If you're going to do that, make sure that you get off the road so that somebody, and if you slow down, make sure it's not too slow so that somebody's going to come and rear end you. What are headlights? Do we drive on brights or dims when we're driving in the fog? Dims. Why do we use the dims? The brights, and try it sometime. You know, it really does. If you're driving on dims, you see a lot better than you do on the brights. Wind, you know, we just had a high wind day. There was a wind warning for high-profile vehicles on Saturday where, you know, I saw a sign. I drove down to Provo on Saturday and saw a sign that said, you know, 50-mile-an-hour wind gusts, high-profile vehicles, use caution. They didn't actually ban them from the highways, but they wanted them to be aware of that. Wind and also rain. You know, a lot of times, even in the winter, it's a combination of sleet, it's a combination of rain and snow, and the added hazard that brings. Other than driving, so what are some other hazards we see? And I want to give a quick example. So typically at Workers' Comp Fund, we get about 40 to 50 claims every single day. On January 21st, 2013, we got about 360 claims that day. Who remembers that day?
It was the freezing rain.
It was that freezing rain, wasn't it? It came in, and it was pretty much from, you know, Utah County up to Idaho and beyond. And our claims adjusters, that day will go down in infamy because they got real busy that day. And the two main injury types, what was the cause, you think, of those? Slips and falls, and that was everyone. That was people who work out in the snow. That was, you know, teachers going to work. That was city employees, county employees, everybody. And the other one was crashes. Those two categories. Let's talk for a minute about slips and falls on ice and snow. What can we do to prevent those type of injuries?
Shovel your snow. Well, if you're going to shovel your snow, don't leave the tracks because they can melt. The water can
Okay. We have to be careful of the water melting and then refreezing again. That often can be slippery, or can it?
Remove the ice and snow.
Remove it. And we do that where we can, and especially walkways. You know, entrances to buildings, we should put down slip-resistant mats. We need to make sure that those in and of themselves don't create a hazard. Put those down. That ice melt, use it liberally. Plow the parking lots. Who's liable if somebody has a slip and fall in your parking lot? Yeah, the county could be. And you don't want employees slipping and falling. You don't want customers, members of the public. So use ice melt as much as you can. However, we can't completely eliminate all snow and ice hazards, can we? So what else can we do? What's the equivalent of snow tires when you're walking? Snow boots or shoes that have a good tread on the bottom of them. And so what do we not want to use? Bowling shoes, golf shoes, leather-soled dress shoes, cowboy boots, high heels, flip-flops. Those we want to leave home. Make sure that you have good tread. And even if you have to, if you have to wear a pair of dress shoes at work, bring your boots to walk across that parking lot, and then take an extra pair of shoes to change into when you get there. What else can we do to avoid those slips and falls? How about the way we walk? Yeah, walk like a, oh, that's a good song though. Walk like a duck, walk like a penguin. In other words, we don't take those big long strides, do we? We take short steps with our arms out. The other type of injuries that I see is, and particularly around this time of year, the holidays, we're always carrying something. Maybe we're carrying in gifts or boxes or decorations, and we have them right here. Well, what happens if we hit an ice patch while we're carrying those items? A slip and a fall. So try and maintain that. Keep your arms out. Use handrails when they're provided. Keep your arms out and walk like a penguin. Okay, that's good. What other type of injuries do we see from now until January, when we all come back after the holidays and come back to work? What are the injuries that we're going to see, both at work and at home?
Slip and fall.
So slips and falls, okay, and slips and falls on the same level, heart attacks, and that is one. And I would add to that one strains and sprains from overexertion. A lot of times, maybe we're not used to it, and we go out that first snowfall to shovel snow. What type of strains and sprains are we likely to have? Back, shoulder, neck. And we need to remember that when we are shoveling snow, that's a type of lifting. So what do you always hear as far as proper lifting techniques go? Bend at the knees, not at the back. So is this a good way to shovel snow? No.
Is that the way we're going to do it?
Okay. That is the way that most people do it until they hurt their back. And then they decide to change, or even better than you doing the snow shoveling is what? Yeah, because they're young and they can handle it. Or use a machine to do it. That's when you put the blade on your four-wheeler and use that, or the tractor or the pickup, or let the machine do the snow removal for you. Okay. That's one that's real important. Strains and sprains, we always see those, as well as the slips and falls, and even heart attacks. What about slips and falls from elevation? Why do we see so many of those this time of year? Putting up lights, putting up decorations, things. Anything that you get up on, to repair your TV or adjust the antenna, becomes a lot more hazardous when there's snow and ice up there. So how can we do that safer if we do have to hang up decorations? How can we do that safer?
Get help.
Okay, get help. Get a professional to do it. Okay, or get, what about using ladders? What are some of the ladder injuries, ladder accidents that can happen? One is slipping out. So how can we avoid that one? So that ladder doesn't fall down while we're climbing it.
Have your help hold it.
Have somebody hold the ladder. Yeah, and if you're going up it more than once, tie it off. That's actually the OSHA regulation for workers. That has to be tied off. Has to extend 3 feet above the roof so that you have something to hold on to as you step off onto that. Be careful and plan your decorating. Do you have to get up and lean over the roof to attach it? Could you do it on a ladder, while you're only standing far off the ground, or that far off the ground. Much better than if you have a 12-foot fall from the roof. Is there a way that you can do that safer? Or maybe don't hang them so high. Be careful though if there's ice and snow. Every time there's those falls from roof that you hear about, maybe it's been you, your neighbor, you hear about those every year. And as we get older, like me, we don't bounce as good. Okay, so if we have a fall, you know, young kid, they may be able, they go to fall on a ladder, they fall 5-6 feet, they go, oh ouch, that kind of hurt, and they walk off. But as you get older, you don't, you're more apt to have those strains and sprains and that type of thing. What are any other types of injuries around this time of year that have the increased potential for?
Getting hit by reindeer pulling.
Okay. Grandma got run over by the reindeer, that's right. The only other one that I see, and this relates more to the office environment and slips, trips, and falls around the office. We seem to like to store things where we shouldn't. In the hallways, you know, where do we store the Christmas trees and decorations? And we need to make sure that we're not blocking major walkways, not only in case there's an emergency, but also, you know, just normal walkways are supposed to be maintained. It's actually a violation to have boxes, you know, covering up part of the walkway, particularly at entrances. Fire extinguishers, we want to keep those unblocked. And I see quite a bit of that now where Christmas decorations, Christmas trees, things like that, we need to keep that in mind. And just the general clutter that we seem to get, particularly in the office environment around the holidays. That was what I pretty much wanted to talk about, avoiding those driving hazards, the running off the road, driving in fog, rain, wind, that type of thing. And it started already. We got our first main snowstorm, you know, last week, and it's probably going to be here for a while. So just remember those things. Speed is the #1 cause of accidents. When it's on snow and ice, the #1 mistake that people make, the #1 cause of fender benders is following too close. Plan things out. Plan out your days. If the forecast calls for snow, add in that extra time so that you're not in a hurry and you're not stressed, and go as slow as the conditions allow. Right. Does anybody have any comments, questions? Okay. You're welcome.